Alright, I got something else on my mind that I kind of expanded upon in this video, but I got more to say about it. So, yeah. Okay, so it's been about a few weeks since that video's blown up, and in the wake of the aftermath of that video, a lot of people wanted me to talk about queerbaiting, and reasoning why is because the last section of that video before the closing was about queerbaiting and how Shiro from Voltron was a prime example of that, and thus a shitty example of representation. But I only scraped the tippy top of the iceberg just talking about Shiro, because queerbaiting in itself is a whole nother fucking phenomena. Now, more accurately, the definition of queerbaiting is when a television series, books, or movies make statements on there being LGBT representation for views when canonically there's none to less that they hinted at. As in, this is queerbaiting, this is queerbaiting, this is not queerbaiting, and this is, it's a little touchy, and I'll get into that. At the core, the reason why queerbaiting is horrible is because you're literally baiting people into your show because of gays, lesbians, or anybody in the LGBTQ+ community, and that is scummy and really bad. You should not make a character gay for the sake of getting views on TV, Netflix, wherever the fuck you're at. You should not make a character any form of LGBT for the sole purpose of getting views, traction, or being seen as progressive by anybody. Because in the long run, you'll look stupid and pretty dated when being gay won't be the hype. Because it shouldn't be, but people like to think that the new fresh trend to hop on is putting gay people in your shows, but that's not how that works. You put them in like regular people. And if the primary subject or focus in the show is an LGBTQ member, then do that, but don't put them in there for the sake of queerbaiting. Now, many people argue that Bubbling or Princess Bubblegum and Marceline's relationship in Adventure Time is queerbaiting, but I disagree. See, although they had to go through hell and back to get that last kiss in at the last scene of the last episode, we've seen hints of a past relationship, or at least some struggle right there, some romantic tension, if you know what I mean. What I'm saying is that throughout the show, there was a clear development of a relationship, or a kinship of some kind that could easily have been romantic, and as we can see here, it was. There was development across the show, and that's what it concluded to. Two little adorable gay beings cuddling up. You see that? That's what love is. You see that? That isn't what love is. The relationship between Kora and this other woman whose name I've not yet to remember, their relationship is pure garbage water forced nonsense. The sad part is that I don't even blame Kora for this, like the show. I blame Nickelodeon for this shit because they put the last season literally online and they kept switching the dates, so they needed to finish it somehow because at the rate it was going, it was a slow decline, right? Like, I remember watching Kora and then all of a sudden just not watching it because Nickelodeon did simply not know how to schedule correctly. But to get back on point, up until season 4, there was no inclination that they were bisexual at all, the both of them. Kora and Asami. Kurosami obviously was not a long-term thing, as of the case of Shaddam, both seemingly victim of last-minute gay romance. And because of that, it was poorly written. Like, really poorly written, but at least with Kurosami it happened in real time, where according to Voltron, Shiro was just gay all along, man. Not once in the many months of being in space did he mention or think about Shaddam on screen, or we got any of that. No, not at all. Here, although it's pretty shitty development, it's at least something compared to no development at all, or just developments in flashbacks. But Kurosami happened for the same reason that Clans didn't happen, as is it was a result of fans wanting them to be shipped together, and when fans want things to happen, fans can't write things to happen. Like, nothing's wrong with making shallow ship art, but that shouldn't constitute for meaningful suggestions to your show. As in, a person who draws Kurosami art cannot write for Kora and make Kurosami a plausible, well-written thing. Just as like none of them niggas can do that shit for Clans, and which is why it did not happen. But for some reason, instead of taking the obvious road, the one that they could have wrote smoothly, the most smooth, they take an already important extensive character with a lot of shit on his back already, and then add this to him in the second to last season. Like, what the fuck? Kurosami makes sense, but it comes out of nowhere. Shadow makes sense contextually only because it's pandering. Both are shitty, but one is less shitty because at least the development of one of the queer characters in a supposedly romantic relationship doesn't get fucking killed off in the first non-flashback scene we see of them. As in, if they didn't make Kurosami forced, unlike Bubbling and Adventure Time, maybe it would have added to a better finale. And maybe people would treat Kora in a better light, you know? Maybe, because it wasn't a bad show. Now to go into the anime side, because people sure do love their anime. One example of a non-queerbait but queer relationship in anime. Yuri on Ice. Yuri on Ice is a show about two ice skaters who end up being in a romantic relationship who happen to also be two guys, and thus making it a gay LGBTQ+ relationship. And this is the perfect form of representation because it depicts same-sex relationships as normal as regular ones, as in they're normal, fine, and happen in everyday life. The story isn't even around that. The story is about an ice skating championship, but throughout it we see their relationship blossom and flourish, and it's very beautiful. And now for another couple of gay boys, or shall I say gay gals, in Sound Euphonium. Sound Euphonium can be seen as queerbaiting to some, but I personally don't exactly see it, because in the show, this queer relationship is teased and we get a little bit of it, but they ultimately decide to not date. They end up having romantic feelings for each other, and they don't get together, And while some people may see it as queerbaiting, I personally don't, because in life, no matter what sex or age or race you are, sometimes relationships just don't happen, and even if you do have feelings for the other person, or if the feelings are mutual, sometimes they just don't happen, and that's just how life is. Although it sounds oh so impossible, and how they have to get together at the end of every show or movie, the two romantic leads or whatever, it's like sometimes it just doesn't happen, and that's just how life works. So I personally don't think that that's queerbaiting at all. Now, some people seem to believe that the genre of anime called Fujoshi, or I don't know the terminology, but boy on boy gay shit that isn't exactly like romantic. Essentially, it's just like, hey, look at this gay shit. Look at how gay it is. If you're into that kind of stuff, it's like I don't exactly see that as queerbaiting. It's like borderline hentai. It's ecchi, but that's like saying looking at lesbian hentai or ecchi is queerbaiting. It's not really. When you look at that kind of stuff, you know what you're looking for. That's not progressive at all, but it's not like it wants to be or is acting like it is either. Like, when I look at Mansu Musume, I know what the fuck I want, I know what I'm going there to look for. And if you don't know what I'm going there to look for, then there are some things in this world that you don't need to know, and I'll simply leave it as that. So to sum it up, not queerbaiting, but accused of queerbaiting, not queerbaiting at all. It's just, yeah. Not because of Netflix's new She-Ra, the Princess of Power, people seem to believe that She-Ra and Catra are gay, or they seem to believe that they're being queerbaited. If they personally think that those people are gay and they're watching the show, then they're being queerbaited. No, it's up to you to think that. If they haven't given you reason to think that, then it's not queerbaiting. I don't exactly see any gripping romantic tension between the two of them. That's something that a lot of you ship people make up and then accuse the show of. It's not the show's fault you want two people to be gay that aren't gay. Like when that one fan took some Voltron stuff and tried to make the crew make Kalantha a canon thing, and instead of pussying out, they had balls, but somehow they still fucked it up. Now, Ruby and Sapphire, people try to say that that's queerbaiting, and I don't see it as queerbaiting. Although the show is very gay, that's kind of the point of the show. It's kind of trying to be progressive and push themes. There's a whole wedding, and a lot of people kind of misconstrued the meaning of it. Now, by all means, Steven Universe is not a perfect show at all. There's a lot of errors in the show. A lot of them. Look at this off-model shit. But regarding the LGBT representation in the show, it's that's the point of the show. That's the point of many of the relationships in the show. So if you were to say that you believe that Steven Universe was queerbaiting, you'd be like completely wrong. That's not even me dick riding Rebecca Sugar. That's me just saying that you'd be wrong, like blatantly wrong. So at the end of the day, what Daddy Joseph is trying to say is that there are examples of good and bad representation, and queerbaiting is frankly terrible. Queerbaiting isn't by any shape of the word representation. Queerbaiting is a form of corporate shameless cash grabbing that is implemented solely to draw in viewers and attention. J.K. Rowling talking about what sex position Dumbledore likes is just an example of why people think they can get away with it but end up getting flamed in the process. Those part of the LGBTQ+ community don't deserve to be treated as a marketing ploy, as any other community shouldn't. The fact that queerbaiting exists means that media doesn't understand that you can't just insert LGBTQ+ themes for the sake of monetary gain. It's immoral and frankly disrespectful to the ones you're trying to profit off of. Personally, I don't stand for it, and neither should any of you lovely beanbags. Again, we have a long way to go in order to achieve that perfection. And in order to achieve that level of greatness, we should respect our queer brothers, sisters, and people of unspecified genders. In other words, none of this and more of this. Or not, do what you want, you know? Invalidate all of my points. I'm just some edgy teenager on the internet.
Round 1!
Well, would you look at that? It's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching yet another one of my subpar, boring videos that some people seem to like for some reason. If you want to see me live tweet my emotional breakdowns, follow my Twitter. And if you want to see me type stuff and say really stupid things in VC, then join the Discord server. It's pretty fun. Links to those both things will be in the description. And now, another link that you guys should follow. As you guys can see from this video, I've gotten myself a new batch of character stills. Yeah, finally. If you notice, I haven't been using the ones that I made because after a while I kind of got bored with them and kind of started to hate them, and they look horrible and I want to die. So my friend Il, she's drawn me some new ones. So please follow her and check her art out because it's very beautiful, and she's very beautiful, and she needs to be appreciated like I appreciate her. So yeah, check her out. Her links will be in the description of every video now. You know, so I'm thankful. Thank you for making these for me. I'm very appreciative and love you bunches. So I hope you guys have a nice day. I am and always will be Veritas Joe, and Yaoi is not bad.